The hidden $1,200 frog farm you can start in your backyard. Part 1: From Barn Dust to Biocircular Gold. What if the place you once called useless could quietly make you more money in 6 months than an entire year of rice farming? Across countless rural landscapes, old barns and animal pens sit in silence, abandoned, collecting dust, home only to cobwebs and memories. Yet behind those cracked walls lies something extraordinary: potential. Hidden potential that only a few have learned to unlock. Because in this new age of smart farming, wealth doesn't grow in acres, it grows in systems. And that system could start right inside your backyard. Picture this. The morning sun cuts through the mist. A faint golden light spills across the floor of a barn that once echoed with the sound of cattle. Now, instead of the smell of straw and manure, there's clean, rippling water. You hear a soft, rhythmic sound: ribbit, ribbit. Hundreds of field frogs, fat and lively, leap against the glimmering surface. What was once an empty, forgotten structure has been reborn as a living, breathing, profit engine. This isn't fantasy, it's real, and it's happening everywhere, from the deltas of Southeast Asia to small homesteads across the American South and Midwest. The old-school mindset says farming needs land, labor, and luck, but the farmers leading today's quiet revolution are rewriting that rulebook. They're turning waste space into wealth space, armed not with heavy machinery, but with a simple recipe: biology, technology, and circular thinking. The story always begins the same way: an unused barn, a small water tank, a patch of concrete behind the house. A farmer stares at it, wondering, could this ever make money again? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. Because you don't need a massive field or $1 million setup to generate consistent income anymore. You just need to understand how to make nature work for you. And nature, when understood correctly, never wastes a thing. At the heart of this transformation is the biocircular model, a concept that mirrors how ecosystems thrive in the wild. Nothing goes to waste. Every output becomes someone else's input. Frog waste turns into feed. Bacteria turn into bioprotein. Water becomes a self-cleaning environment. It's like building a mini-factory powered entirely by nature's own rules, where every living organism has a role in keeping the system running profitably and sustainably. Imagine this cycle. A handful of frogs, released into a small cement basin lined with waterproof plastic. You feed them scraps, insects, and nutrient-rich pellets. They eat, they grow fast, and yes, they leave waste behind. But instead of cleaning it out daily, you use beneficial bacteria to convert that waste into microscopic feed particles. The frogs eat it again. You've just turned what most farmers throw away into an asset. That's the biocircular miracle. And here's the beauty of it: this system doesn't demand big money. It rewards smart planning. Most small farmers believe they can't compete with large-scale agribusinesses. But that's only true if you play by the old rules. Traditional farming burns money on land rent, fertilizer, machinery, and labor. The biocircular frog model flips that on its head. You're no longer farming acres, you're farming efficiency. You're not fighting nature, you're collaborating with it. Let's be honest, in today's economy, survival in agriculture depends on one thing: ROI. And frogs, of all creatures, quietly dominate that chart. A single 8-square-meter tank, the size of a small bedroom, can produce over 350 pounds of meat in 6 months. With profit margins that double what rice fields or tilapia ponds earn on the same footprint. It's compact, controllable, and cash flow positive in one cycle. Now imagine you have 3 or 4 tanks. You're not just a farmer anymore, you're an eco-entrepreneur. You're running a micro-farm that recycles its own resources, demands minimal space, and runs year-round, unaffected by drought, flood, or fluctuating crop prices. That's the power of turning waste into wealth. But the story runs deeper than profit. It's also about liberation. For decades, small farmers have been at the mercy of unstable markets, rising costs, and unpredictable weather. Many gave up, others migrated to cities, leaving the countryside hollow. But those who stayed, those who chose to rethink rather than retreat, discovered something revolutionary. The smallest spaces can deliver the biggest returns when powered by the right system. In this model, Every element has a purpose. The tank replaces the field. The frog replaces the cow. The biofloc system replaces fertilizer. The cycle of waste and reuse replaces endless expense. Together, they form a living ecosystem that runs like a silent machine, one that doesn't just sustain itself but pays you back with every leap and splash. You see, frog farming isn't about raising amphibians, it's about harnessing biological efficiency. A frog eats less than a chicken, grows faster than a fish, and leaves behind waste that feeds microorganisms instead of polluting water. It's biology redesigned for business. And that's what makes it biocircular. Instead of draining your wallet on feed and maintenance, you let nature handle the labor. The water remains clean through microbial balance. The frogs stay healthy through constant oxygenation. Even their waste regenerates value. It's a system where your job shifts from hard labor to smart management. This is where the new generation of farmers thrives, the biopreneurs, who see beyond mud and manure. They don't just farm animals, they farm ecosystems. They treat the barn as a lab, the water as an engine, and each frog as a worker in a self-sustaining business model. And the best part? You can start small, right where you are. You don't need acres of land or corporate investors. You need curiosity, patience, and the will to learn. The tools are simple: a tank, a few frogs, a small air pump, and the wisdom to turn biology into profit. What used to be a dusty barn corner could soon be earning you a steady income, clean, green, and circular. So, when you stand in that empty space behind your home or look at that old concrete basin filled with rainwater, remember, you're looking at opportunity. Every ripple, every sound, every leap is a reminder that farming's next chapter doesn't require more land, it requires more imagination. The question isn't, can I make money from this? It's, why haven't I started yet? Because in this new era of smart agriculture, your wealth doesn't lie in the acres you own, but in the systems you build. And perhaps the most powerful system of all begins right here, with a creature small enough to fit in your palm, but strong enough to transform your future. Part 2: Why Frogs Outperform Fish in Profit and Efficiency. There's a quiet revolution happening across backyards, farms, and forgotten corners of rural land, and its unlikely hero isn't the cow, the chicken, or the tilapia, it's the frog. While most people see frogs as just noisy creatures leaping across rice paddies after a summer rain, seasoned farmers are discovering what investors would call a high-yield biological asset. They grow fast, eat cheap, thrive in small spaces, and deliver an astonishing return on investment that rivals any aquaculture model in existence today. Let's start with the species at the heart of this transformation, the field frog, Rana rugulosa. Native to Southeast Asia, this frog is as tough as it is adaptable. For centuries, it survived both droughts and floods, blazing heat and muddy cold. Nature built it to endure, and that endurance translates perfectly to modern farming. Unlike imported breeds that demand perfect conditions, the field frog thrives in simplicity. It can live in cement tanks, plastic trays, or shallow ponds, making it ideal for backyard homesteaders and small-scale entrepreneurs. You can raise them behind your house, in an old water tank, or even in a converted garage. But what truly makes this species shine isn't just its hardiness, it's its biological efficiency. Frogs are pure muscle. Their meat is 18 to 20% protein and contains only 0.3 to 0.5% fat, giving it a clean, delicate taste that chefs love. In fact, frog legs are now featured in fine dining restaurants from New Orleans to New York. Marketed as lean, sustainable white meat, fitness enthusiasts and athletes buy it for its amino acid content, rich in lysine and methionine, which help rebuild muscle tissue. In simple terms, frog meat is nature's protein powerhouse, and the market can't get enough of it. But there's another side to this story, the economics. Traditional fish farming requires large ponds, constant water exchange, and expensive feed. One disease outbreak, and months of investment can vanish overnight. Frogs, by contrast, thrive in tighter quarters, need less water, and adapt beautifully to controlled systems like Biofloc, where microorganisms recycle waste into edible nutrients. That single innovation, The ability to turn waste into food cuts feed costs by up to 40%. For small farmers, that's not just an improvement, it's survival. Let's look at the math. A typical 8 square meter tank can hold about 1.000 to 1.200 frogs at a density of roughly 120 per square meter. Over 6 months, they'll reach market size, around 180 to 250 grams each. With an 85 to 90% survival rate, one small tank can produce 160 to 170 kilograms, 350 to 375 pounds, of saleable meat. With wholesale prices between $3-4 per pound, each tank can yield $1,000-1,200 in gross revenue every 6 months. After subtracting feed, electricity, and basic maintenance, net profit per tank sits comfortably around $250 to $300. And that's just one tank. 3 tanks in a backyard? You're looking at $750-900 every 6 months, comparable to the yearly income from traditional crops on the same footprint. But with one crucial difference: frogs don't care about the weather. Rain, drought, or flood, your frogs will keep growing, day and night, powered by a biological system that almost runs itself. It's no wonder entrepreneurs across Southeast Asia, Africa, and even parts of the US are calling this the silent goldmine of modern homesteading. Another reason frogs outperform fish is their metabolism. They're cold-blooded, meaning they convert more feed into body mass instead of burning calories to maintain body heat. In biological terms, their feed conversion ratio, FCR, the amount of feed required to produce 1 kilogram of growth, can drop as low as 1.2 in a biofloc environment. Compare that to catfish, FCR 1.5-1.8, or tilapia, 1.7-2.0. And the advantage becomes clear. And when it comes to health, frogs are warriors. The field frog is naturally resistant to most common aquaculture diseases, while imported breeds often fall victim to parasites and bacterial infections. This native species shrugs off environmental swings that would wipe out a weaker stock. A pH dip, a sudden rainstorm, even oxygen fluctuations, it takes it all in stride. Simple measures like adding garlic to feed or maintaining salt levels around 3 parts per thousand are enough to keep them healthy. They thrive in water temperatures between 64 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 35 degrees Celsius, and oxygen levels as low as 3 milligrams per liter, conditions under which most fish would stop eating or die. That resilience is more than a biological trait, it's economic armor. It protects small farmers from unpredictable losses and stabilizes income throughout the year. And here's where the numbers truly shine. At many rural markets, frog meat now sells for 20 to 30% more than tilapia. And it's always in short supply. Restaurants specializing in frog dishes, stir-fried frog legs, frog soup, grilled frog skewers, often pre-book suppliers months in advance. It's not uncommon for wholesalers to pay deposits to secure inventory before harvest season. The best part? The market is expanding. In the US, where exotic and sustainable protein trends are booming, frog legs are gaining traction in high-end restaurants and health-conscious markets. Eco-farms across Texas, Florida, and California are already experimenting with small-scale production models inspired by Asian frog systems. Consumers want 2 things: protein and purpose. Frogs deliver both. They're sustainable, low-impact, and space-efficient, qualities that align perfectly with the eco-luxury trend driving modern food innovation. While traditional livestock requires massive land and water use, a small frog farm can operate in 100 square feet, recycling nearly every ounce of input. And that's the secret no one tells you. Frogs turn scarcity into abundance. Where most animals need open pastures and endless feed, frogs turn a single tank into a closed-loop microeconomy. Where others produce waste, frogs produce opportunity. For homesteaders seeking self-sufficiency or families looking for new income streams, frog farming isn't just a side hustle, it's a scalable, recession-proof business model. It's clean, efficient, and, let's be honest, a little poetic. The creature once dismissed as a swamp dweller is now helping small farmers escape debt, revive rural economies, and prove that sustainability can be profitable. So the next time you hear that faint ribbit echoing across the fields, listen closely. That sound isn't just nature's melody, it's the rhythm of a new economy leaping forward. Because when it comes to small-scale profit, low investment, and bio-efficiency, frogs don't just compete with fish, they beat them. Part 3: The Model. How farmers turn old barns into frog incubators. Every revolution begins with a small act of courage, someone looking at what's broken and asking, "What if?" That's exactly how the frog farming movement was born. Across rural towns, old barns, pig pens, and concrete tanks once filled with livestock now stand empty, abandoned after disease outbreaks, price collapses, or generational shifts. Yet, in the same spaces where others saw loss, a few visionaries saw potential. They looked at those forgotten structures and imagined something new, living tanks of profitability. Take the story of a farmer in the Mekong Delta. After losing his pigs to disease, he refused to let his farm die. Instead of tearing everything down, he simply repurposed it. The cracked concrete floors were patched, the drainage channels cleaned, and a thin layer of waterproof liner added. A few pipes, some netting, and a small water pump later, the same pig pen that once smelled of feed and failure had been transformed into a clean, humming ecosystem of life, a frog hatchery. His total renovation cost? Less than $80. His profit 6 months later? Nearly $300 from that single tank. That's the beauty of this model. It doesn't demand wealth, it rewards ingenuity. Let's break it down. 1. The space. You don't need a pond or acres of land. All you need is a space roughly the size of a bedroom, 8 to 12 square meters, 85 to 130 square feet. The walls should be 0.8 to 1 meter high, 2.5 to 3.3 feet, smooth, and free of sharp edges. Frogs are surprisingly agile jumpers, so the top should be covered with a simple mesh net or nylon screen to prevent escape. The floor can be concrete or lined with HDPE plastic sheets, cheap, durable, and easy to clean. Depth matters. Only 30 to 40 centimeters, 12 to 16 inches, of water is needed, enough for frogs to swim, rest, and feed without stress. Unlike fish, frogs don't need deep water. They need space to move and surfaces to rest on. Add a few bricks, pipes, or floating mats for perching, and you've built a frog paradise. 2. The water system. At the heart of any successful frog farm is control, especially of water. Old barns usually already have drainage systems, making them ideal. If not, a simple outlet pipe at the bottom of the tank will do. The key is easy water exchange. You should be able to drain or refresh water without disturbing the frogs. For aeration, you can use a small air pump or venturi pipe system, simple PVC tubing that pulls air into the water flow. Frogs breathe both through their skin and lungs, so oxygen-rich water keeps them active and disease-free. And here's where innovation meets tradition. By introducing Biofloc, the water essentially becomes a self-cleaning, nutrient-rich soup. You no longer need to change it every day. Microbes consume waste and convert it into natural protein clusters, which the frogs eat again. The result? Clearer water, lower costs, and healthier frogs. 3. The setup cost. This is where the model truly shines. A new fish pond might cost thousands of dollars to build and fill. But a frog tank, especially when repurposing old structures, can be set up for a fraction of that. Here's a breakdown. Average US or Southeast Asian conversion. Waterproof lining, $15.20. Drain pipe and mesh cover, $10.15. Aeration setup, DIY or small air pump, $20.25. Starter culture for Biofloc, molasses plus probiotics, $5. Miscellaneous tools and cleaning, $10. Total investment, $60 to $80 per tank. That's less than the cost of a smartphone, and yet it creates a system capable of producing hundreds of pounds of high-value meat twice a year. 4. The stocking and scaling. Each 10 square meters tank can hold around 1.000 to 1.200 frogs comfortably. That density would be impossible for fish or other animals. But frogs thrive in close quarters as long as oxygen and cleanliness are maintained. Many farmers start with just 1 or 2 tanks to learn the process. Once they master the biofloc balance, they expand, 5 tanks, then 10, then 15. Some now manage compact frog farms right behind their homes, each generating $1,000 minus $2,000 annually. And because these tanks require minimal water, they can be built side by side in existing sheds, warehouses, or even under shade nets in urban backyards. You don't need to move to the countryside. You can literally run a frog farm in a 300 square foot area behind your house. 5. The daily routine. Unlike livestock that demand constant attention, frogs are low maintenance. Feed them twice a day. Check the water pH every few days. Ideal 6.8-7.5. Add a bit of molasses and probiotics weekly to maintain the biofloc. Remove any uneaten feed or dead frogs immediately to avoid contamination. That's it. You're managing an ecosystem, not babysitting an animal. Most farmers report spending less than 45 minutes per tank per day, meaning you can run multiple tanks easily, even while holding another job or tending other farm activities. 6. The secret ingredient: circular thinking. Traditional farming is linear. You buy feed, raise animals, clean waste, and pay for disposal. Biocircular farming flips that logic. In this model, every byproduct becomes an input for something else. Frog waste, right-pointing arrow, microbial feed, biofloc. Excess water, right-pointing arrow, fertilizer for vegetables. Dead or undersized frogs, right-pointing arrow, feed for chickens or fish. Vegetable waste, right-pointing arrow, feed supplement for frogs. Nothing goes to waste. Everything feeds the system. One farmer even built a mini-loop where black soldier fly larvae consume frog manure, and their larvae become high-protein feed for the frogs again. The result? A 100% waste-free, feed-efficient, and eco-sustainable cycle. This mindset, turning problems into resources, is the core of the biocircular revolution. It's why frog farming isn't just profitable but also environmentally transformative. 7. The human side of success. The story of frog farming isn't just about systems, it's about people. In provinces like Long An, Haojiang, and Dong Thap, families who once struggled to make ends meet with rice or pigs now report stable incomes from frog farming. Retired couples manage small tanks behind their homes. Youth who left the city are returning to start eco-farms. One farmer said it best: "I used to think only rich people could make money in farming. Now I realize, it's not about how much you have, it's about how smart your system is." That statement perfectly captures the spirit of modern agriculture. The winners of the next decade won't be those with the most land. They'll be those who understand how to multiply value from the land they already have. So whether you're a farmer with an abandoned barn, a city dweller with a backyard, or simply someone looking for a sustainable side income, frog farming proves one powerful truth: you don't need to start big to earn big, you just need to start smart. In the next section, we'll uncover the engine that makes this system truly self-sustaining, the Biofloc technology that turns frog farming from a small experiment into a scalable, unstoppable business model. Part 4: Biofloc Technology, feeding frogs with their own waste. What if your frogs could feed themselves? Not through magic, but through microbiology. That's the astonishing reality behind Biofloc Technology, a natural yet scientific process that's quietly redefining the economics of modern aquaculture. For small-scale farmers and homesteaders, it's the ultimate equalizer, a system that transforms waste into wealth and converts every drop of water into a living, breathing nutrient factory. At its core, Biofloc is simple. It's nature's recycling engine, supercharged. In the wild, ponds and wetlands regulate themselves through microbial life, tiny organisms that break down waste, consume ammonia, and generate food for everything else in the system. Biofloc takes that same principle and applies it in a controlled, productive way. The result? You create a self-cleaning, protein-producing environment where frogs live, grow, and eat within their own miniature ecosystem. 1. The science in simple terms. Biofloc stands for biological flocculation, a process where beneficial bacteria, algae, and organic matter clump together into small, edible particles known as flocs. These flocs are rich in protein and act as live, natural feed. When frogs excrete waste or uneaten food starts to decay, the biofloc community immediately begins to work. The bacteria absorb harmful ammonia and convert it into nitrite and then nitrate, detoxifying the water while simultaneously multiplying as food. The frogs, in turn, consume these flocs, digesting the bacteria-rich particles and gaining nutrition from what would otherwise be waste. It's a perfect cycle. Waste right-pointing arrow bacteria right-pointing arrow protein right-pointing arrow growth right-pointing arrow profit. 2. How to create a biofloc system. Building a biofloc tank isn't about expensive equipment, it's about balance. You're cultivating a microscopic workforce. Here's the starter formula most small-scale farmers use. Carbon source: 10 grams of molasses or banana flour per cubic meter of water. Probiotics: a packet of effective microorganisms, or bacillus culture. Aeration: continuous airflow for 24 hours before stocking frogs. Within 3 to 5 days, the water should turn a light brown or coffee with milk color. That's not dirt, it's life. It means your microbial community is thriving. The tank has officially transformed into a living bioreactor. This system relies on 2 key balances. 1. Carbon to nitrogen ratio, C/N. Adding molasses increases the carbon content, helping beneficial bacteria outcompete harmful ones. 2. Oxygenation. Continuous aeration ensures the microbes stay active and prevents anaerobic, foul-smelling zones. The only maintenance required? Feed the system once or twice a week with a spoonful of molasses. Check pH, 6.8-7.5, and keep the air pump running. That's it. You've just replaced constant water changes, expensive feed waste, and chemical treatments with one biological solution. 3. Why it works so well for frogs. Frogs are natural scavengers. In the wild, they feed on insects, larvae, and small aquatic organisms, exactly what a biofloc tank produces. When frogs swim through the cloud of microscopic flocs, they snap them up like plankton. Unlike fish, which rely heavily on processed feed, frogs can utilize up to 30 to 40% of their nutrition directly from the biofloc biomass. That means less feed purchased, faster growth, and healthier frogs. Farmers who use biofloc consistently report faster weight gain, up to 20% more in the same time. Higher survival rates, up to 90 to 95%. Cleaner water, with almost zero odor. Reduced feed costs by 1/3 or more. In short, the biofloc tank becomes a living buffet. And the magic doesn't stop there. Because the water rarely needs changing, your entire system becomes more stable. You no longer depend on constant fresh water supply, critical for dry regions or urban homesteads where every drop counts. 4. Environmental and economic impact. Biofloc isn't just efficient, it's ethical. Traditional aquaculture often faces criticism for pollution, water waste, and overfeeding. In biofloc systems, those problems disappear. Every nutrient stays in the loop, recycled endlessly. The same water can be used for months, even entire growing cycles, with only small top-ups for evaporation. For farmers, that means lower bills. For the planet, it means cleaner, sustainable food production. One tank running Biofloc technology can save up to 80% of water used in traditional ponds, up to 40% of feed costs, nearly 100% of nutrient waste runoff. That's not just eco-friendly, it's economically revolutionary. Imagine this: your system feeds itself, cleans itself, and multiplies profits, all while staying entirely organic and chemical-free. You're no longer farming against nature, you're farming with it. 5. The microbial workforce, the unseen employees. Every successful biofloc farmer will tell you, the true heroes of their farm are invisible. Each tank hosts billions of tiny workers, bacteria, protozoa, microalgae, and fungi. Their combined effort stabilizes the environment. When feed is added, they digest the excess before it rots. When frogs produce waste, they neutralize the toxins before they spread. They literally convert garbage into growth. And the most fascinating part? These microscopic organisms evolve with your tank. Over time, your biofloc community becomes unique, adapted to your water, your climate, and your frogs. It's a living fingerprint of your farm's ecosystem. That's why veteran frog farmers call it liquid gold. 6. Challenges and mastery. Like any living system, Biofloc takes observation and patience. In the first few days, the water may turn too dark or emit a mild odor. That's your signal to adjust. If it smells sour, reduce feeding and add aeration. If it's too clear, add molasses to boost bacterial growth. Within a week, it stabilizes, and once stable, it stays consistent for months. The key is to trust the process. Biofloc farming is less about control and more about cooperation with the invisible. You're not commanding nature, you're cultivating it. 7. The bigger picture. Profit meets philosophy. Biofloc farming represents more than just a profitable method, it's a mindset shift. It proves that sustainability and profitability are not opposites. In fact, they're allies. The same system that saves the planet also saves your wallet. It's a concept that resonates deeply with the new generation of eco-entrepreneurs who believe farming should be regenerative, not extractive. In this model, your frogs aren't just livestock. They're part of a living cycle that mirrors nature's own design, efficient, balanced, and waste-free. Every bubble from your air pump, every swirl in your water, every jump of your frogs is part of a symphony of growth, a reminder that life, when aligned with nature's logic, always finds a way to multiply. Biofloc isn't just a technique, it's the engine behind the biocircular revolution. It's what turns a frog tank into an ecosystem into a business, and a business into a blueprint for sustainable prosperity. Because when nature and entrepreneurship finally speak the same language, profit becomes inevitable. Part 5: The 6-month blueprint, from tadpole to market. If Biofloc is the heart of the system, then the 6-month growing cycle is its rhythm, a steady, predictable beat that turns patience into profit. This is where biology, discipline, and timing come together to deliver consistent results. Every successful frog farmer follows the same pattern, not a complicated process, but a well-tuned sequence of simple steps done right. 1. Phase 1. The seed of success, choosing the right frogs. The first mistake many beginners make is treating frog breeding like gambling. They buy random stock, skip quality checks, and hope luck will carry them. In reality, frog farming rewards precision. 70% of your success depends on the quality of your seed. The ideal candidate is the native field frog, Rana rugulosa, resilient, fast-growing, and perfectly adapted to tropical and temperate climates alike. Each tadpole should weigh about 3 to 5 grams, move actively, and show smooth, glossy skin. Avoid those with red legs, swollen bellies, or sluggish behavior. Those are early signs of stress or bacterial infection. Buy only from reliable hatcheries that test for disease and maintain clean, oxygenated water. Ask to see their parent stock. Healthy breeders produce strong offspring. Remember, in small-scale farming, every frog counts. 2. Phase 2. Stocking, setting the stage for growth. Once your Biofloc tank is ready and the water has turned that perfect coffee milk hue, it's time to introduce your future profits. Timing matters. Always stock your frogs in the early morning or late afternoon when the temperature is cool and stable. This reduces stress and shock. Before releasing them, give each batch a salt bath, a 0.3% saline solution for 3 to 5 minutes. It's a simple, natural disinfectant that removes external parasites and toughens the skin. Now for density. In Biofloc tanks, you can safely maintain 100 to 120 frogs per square meter. In non-Biofloc setups, Reduce to 80 to 100 per square meter and change water more frequently. Each frog is small now, but within weeks, your tank will come alive, hundreds of sleek bodies gliding, croaking, and hunting invisible nutrients swirling in the biofloc clouds. 3. Phase 3. Feeding, turning inputs into growth. Feed is where most farms lose their profit margin, but in frog farming, it's also where the magic happens. Stage 1. The starter feed, weeks 1 to 8. At this stage, the frogs are growing fast and need protein-dense feed, 35 to 40% crude protein, to build muscle and bone. Use floating commercial pellets or finely ground fish meal mixed with rice bran. Feed them twice daily, at dawn and dusk. Frogs are greedy but delicate eaters, too much food, and it decays, fouling the water, too little, and they cannibalize each other. The golden rule. Feed only what they can finish within 20 minutes. Stage 2. The growth feed, weeks 9 to 20. Once they're about 50 to 70 grams each, you can cut costs by supplementing with natural feed, small fish, black soldier fly larvae, snails, earthworms, and kitchen scraps enriched with probiotics. The Biofloc provides bonus nutrition, so reduce pellet use by 25 to 30%. Most farmers switch to a 50-50 mix of pellets and natural feed, a balance that ensures strong flavor, firm meat, and lower expenses. Stage 3. The finisher feed, weeks 21 to 24. At this point, the frogs are nearly market size. Maintain feeding frequency but decrease volume to harden their muscles and improve texture. A leaner frog sells better and travels farther. 4. Phase 4. Water and environment management. Clean, stable water is life. Even with Biofloc, small adjustments make a big difference. Maintain pH between 6.8 and 7.5. Temperature, 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, 77 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep the aerator running 24/7. Frogs breathe through their skin. Low oxygen can kill them silently overnight. If the water darkens or emits a strong odor, add molasses and probiotics, or replace 20% of the volume with fresh water. Avoid full water changes. It shocks the system and resets your microbial balance. Install a few shaded areas or floating mats. Frogs need rest and shelter to reduce stress. Stressed frogs eat less and grow slower. In rural areas, some farmers hang light bulbs at night above the tanks, not for the frogs, but for the insects they attract. The frogs get free live snacks, and the feed bill drops even further. 5. Phase 5. Disease prevention. The 3 clean, 2 routine, 1 backup rule. Healthy frogs mean healthy profits. Prevention always beats treatment. 3 clean. Clean tanks, scrub between cycles. Remove debris and old floc. Clean water, keep it balanced. Avoid detergent or chemical cleaners. Clean feed, never feed spoiled or moldy materials. 2 routine. Add probiotics weekly to maintain good bacteria. Use natural herbs like garlic, neem, or bitter leaf every 2 weeks to strengthen immunity. 1 backup. Always keep a small emergency kit, salt, potassium permanganate, and probiotics, to respond to sudden changes in water quality. Common signs of illness. Frogs stop eating right-pointing arrow oxygen or pH issue. Red legs right-pointing arrow bacterial infection. Floating motionless right-pointing arrow water toxins. Address it fast, and the system recovers naturally. 6. Phase 6. Harvest, the moment of truth. By month 6, your frogs are fully grown, weighing between 250 to 350 grams, 0.55 to 0.77 pounds, each. The water still hums with life, but now it's time to cash in. Stop feeding them 24 hours before harvest to let them purge. Use soft nets or baskets to collect them gently. Rough handling causes bruises that lower market value. Sort them by size. Grade A, 200 grams plus, restaurants and export buyers. Grade B, 120 to 200 grams, wholesale markets. Grade C, less than 120 grams, local sales are kept for breeding. Your profit will vary by region, but here's the average benchmark. Survival rate, 85 to 90%. Yield, 160 to 180 kilograms per 10 square meters tank. Gross revenue, $1,000 minus $1,200. Net profit after costs, $250 minus $300 per cycle. That's the financial heartbeat of frog farming. 6 months of steady biological growth translating directly into hard cash. 7. Phase 7. Rest, reset, repeat. After harvest, clean and dry your tank for a week. Let the sun sterilize the surface. Add lime to neutralize any remaining pathogens. Then refill, restart your biofloc, and begin again. Each cycle improves your system. You'll learn how to read your water by its smell, how to recognize healthy frogs by their jump, and how to tweak your biofloc with intuition alone. With time, your small setup becomes a predictable cash flow engine every 6 months. You harvest, sell, and reinvest. It's farming without the uncertainty of weather, pests, or unstable markets. And that's the quiet secret behind this model: consistency. While traditional crops rise and fall with the seasons, your tanks keep producing, your frogs keep multiplying, and your profits keep compounding. 6 months, that's all it takes. From tadpole to market-ready product, from curiosity to cash flow, from water to wealth. When you understand the cycle, you realize it's not just about raising frogs, it's about mastering time, efficiency, and nature itself. Because the smartest farmers today don't wait for rain, they make their own ecosystem. Part 6: The Profit Formula. Maximizing ROI with strategy and discipline. Profit in frog farming doesn't come from luck or random experimentation, it comes from strategy, discipline, and smart systems. The people who quietly turn frog tanks into money machines all follow a mindset that blends business logic with biological rhythm. They don't just raise frogs, they build miniature financial ecosystems that work 24/7, even while they sleep. Let's break down how ordinary farmers transform this humble setup into a 6-figure sustainable model, and how you can do the same. 1. Start from the market, not the pond. Most farmers begin by asking, "What should I raise?" The successful ones ask, "Who will buy it?" That single shift changes everything. Before even filling your first tank, research the local demand. Who are your potential buyers? Restaurants, street food vendors, local markets, or wholesalers? Call them, visit them, and ask 2 questions. How much frog meat do you buy each week? What quality or size do you prefer? In most regions, the demand outpaces supply, especially for clean, locally farmed frogs. Restaurants prefer medium-sized frogs, 200 to 250 grams, with firm, white meat. Wholesalers want consistent deliveries. Some customers even prepay to reserve supply before harvest. Knowing your buyer means you can grow to specification and sell immediately after harvest, avoiding price dips or oversupply. Never start production before knowing your destination. In farming, the market isn't the end of the journey, it's the map that guides every step. 2. Feed efficiency, the real game changer. Feed is your biggest expense, usually 60 to 70% of total cost, and your biggest opportunity to increase profit. The smartest frog farmers treat feeding as a science, not a routine. They use circular feed loops, combining natural sources with homemade blends that cost almost nothing. Circular feed strategies. Black soldier fly larvae, BSF, raised from kitchen waste or animal manure. These larvae contain up to 60% protein and make an incredible frog feed. Farm leftovers, crushed snails, rice bran, duckweed, and vegetable scraps can all be fermented with probiotics for nutrient-rich feed. Biofloc biomass. Your own water system produces billions of edible microorganisms that frogs feed on daily. Each of these reduces pellet dependence and creates a sustainable internal feed cycle. The result? Feed costs drop by 30 to 40%, and your frogs still grow faster because their diet is natural and diverse. Frogs don't need fancy meals. They need consistent nutrition, good water, and a clean environment. Nature does the rest. 3. Optimize the environment, because healthy frogs are profitable frogs. A stressed frog doesn't grow. A comfortable frog becomes money on legs. That's why environmental discipline is non-negotiable. Keep a routine. Check temperature every morning. Ideal, 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Monitor pH twice a week, 6.8-7.5. Keep oxygen levels high with aeration 24/7. Add floating mats or bricks as resting spots. This reduces stress and aggression. Every week, sprinkle a small dose of molasses and probiotics to keep your biofloc thriving. The real pros keep a logbook, daily notes on feeding, watercolor, frog behavior, and weather. It might sound tedious, but it's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Over time, your records become your most valuable teacher. They tell you exactly what works, what fails, and when to harvest for maximum size and minimum cost. Remember, what gets measured gets improved. 4. Scale smart, from 1 tank to 10. The most dangerous moment for any new farmer isn't the beginning, it's the moment after the first success. That's when people rush to expand without preparation. The right way to scale frog farming is slow, systematic, and modular. Start with 1 or 2 tanks. Master the process, track costs, survival rates, and net profit. Once your system is stable for 2 cycles, reinvest profits to build the next tanks, not loans, not credit. Each new tank adds about 25 to 30% more income without increasing your labor time drastically. Since daily care scales easily, by the time you reach 10 tanks, you'll have a mini, biocircular farm, capable of generating $5,000 to $6,000 per year on just a few hundred square feet. Now imagine a cooperative of 5 neighbors doing the same, shared resources, shared market, collective supply chain. Suddenly, you're no longer a small farmer, you're part of a localized aquaculture network. Frog farming isn't just scalable, it's replicable. That's what makes it powerful. 5. Build a brand, because identity sells. In today's market, people don't just buy food, they buy stories. If your frogs are raised cleanly, sustainably, and locally, that's your advantage. Tell it. Use a name that resonates with trust and eco-value, something like Green Leap Farm, Frog Organic, or Biofarm Fresh. Create a Facebook page or local website. Share photos of your clean tanks, natural feed, and biofloc systems. Restaurants love sourcing from traceable farms. Add a small QR code on your packaging that links to your story. Branding isn't about fancy logos, it's about transparency. Show customers how your system works and why it's healthier. People will pay more for food they trust. A strong brand can increase your selling price by 15 to 20%. Turning ordinary frog meat into premium, eco-certified protein. 6. Reinvest in the system, not just the output. Many farmers make quick profit and stop there. The smart ones reinvest, not necessarily in more tanks, but in better systems. Here's how to reinvest strategically. Upgrade to solar aeration or low-energy pumps to cut utility costs. Add automatic feeders for precise portions and less waste. Develop water reuse systems that recycle from multiple tanks. Each upgrade improves efficiency and longevity, increasing ROI every cycle. In a well-optimized setup, the payback period, the time to recover your initial investment, is just 1 harvest cycle. Everything after that is pure profit. 7. Treat farming like a business, not a habit. The final key is discipline. You don't need to be a scientist or millionaire to succeed, you just need a professional mindset. Set clear financial goals per cycle. Track expenses, feed costs, and mortality rates. Learn from every mistake, adjust, and repeat. Every successful frog farmer shares one trait: consistency. They don't skip routines. They don't improvise without reason. They follow data, not emotion. Over time, their small tanks evolve into self-sustaining micro-businesses that deliver stable cash flow year-round, something traditional crops rarely achieve. 8. The mental shift, from farmer to bio-entrepreneur. When you understand that every tank is a miniature ecosystem, Every frog is a bioworker, and every gram of waste is potential income. You stop being just a farmer. You become a bio-entrepreneur, someone who manages living systems to create perpetual value. That's the future of agriculture. The farmers who survive the next decade won't be the ones with the biggest fields, but the ones with the smartest cycles, those who turn natural biology into renewable economics. And frog farming, powered by Biofloc and circular logic, is the perfect gateway. Because here, your return on investment isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in resilience, independence, and freedom. Every leap your frogs make is a symbol of progress, the leap from traditional farming to the new biocircular age. And that's not just profitable, it's revolutionary. Part 7: Health Management. Beat disease before it starts. In frog farming, your greatest victory isn't curing disease, it's preventing it before it begins. The difference between a panicked farmer and a prosperous one can be measured by a single word: discipline. Healthy frogs mean steady profits, predictable harvests, and peace of mind. Sick frogs mean sleepless nights, wasted feed, and financial losses. Yet most illnesses in frog farms don't come from bad luck, they come from bad habits. When you maintain a clean, balanced environment, nature does the heavy lifting for you. When you neglect the basics, the problems multiply overnight. So let's talk about how to keep your frogs thriving without relying on chemicals. Antibiotics, or luck. 1. The silent killers. Common diseases and what causes them. Every frog farmer eventually faces the same warning signs: the sudden red tint on the legs, a bloated belly, or a slimy white layer forming on the skin. These aren't random problems, they're signals from your system, telling you something's off. Red legs. This is the most common issue and usually points to a bacterial infection caused by dirty water or high ammonia levels. The legs appear reddish or purple, sometimes with tiny blood spots. If left untreated, it can lead to internal bleeding and death. Skin fungus. Appears as white or gray patches, usually after heavy rain, water changes, or temperature drops. It's not contagious in early stages but spreads fast if water remains unclean. Bloated belly. Caused by digestive infections or gas buildup when frogs eat spoiled food or stay in stagnant water. They float abnormally and stop eating. Digestive infections. When feed is poor quality or decaying, frogs develop intestinal inflammation, they become sluggish, lose appetite, and their droppings turn watery. All of these have one root cause: poor water management. When pH drops too low, ammonia spikes, or organic matter builds up, the environment turns toxic. The water that once sustained life becomes a breeding ground for pathogens. In other words, the health of your frogs is only as strong as the health of your water. 2. Prevention. The 3 Clean 2 Routine 1 Backup Principle. The most successful frog farmers live by a mantra that keeps them ahead of every outbreak. Keep it clean, keep it consistent, keep it ready. 3 Clean. Clean tanks. Scrub or sun-dry tanks between each cycle. A single dirty corner can carry bacteria into the next batch. Clean water. Never let feed rot or sludge accumulate. Partial water replacement or biofloc adjustment once a week keeps balance. Clean feed. Frogs have sensitive stomachs. Feed should always be fresh, dry, and stored away from humidity. Moldy pellets or spoiled leftovers can destroy a healthy tank in days. 2 Routine. Probiotics every week. Add 1 to 2 spoonfuls of probiotics, Bacillus or M, to maintain beneficial microbes that outcompete harmful bacteria. Herbal boosters every 2 weeks. Natural immunity enhancers like garlic, neem, or bitter leaves help frogs resist infection naturally. 1 Backup. Always have a basic emergency kit ready: salt, turmeric, neem extract, probiotics, and potassium permanganate for mild disinfection. When problems appear, immediate response saves entire batches. This system may sound simple, but it's how master farmers keep mortality under 5%. 3. Healing naturally. The herbal defense system. Modern antibiotics can suppress infection but destroy your biofloc balance, and create chemical residues that make your frogs unsellable for premium markets. Nature, however, provides powerful and safe alternatives. Neem leaves. A natural antibacterial and antifungal agent. Boil fresh leaves, let the water cool, and pour into the tank, 1 liter for every 100 liters of water. It clears infections, repels parasites, and purifies water simultaneously. Garlic. A potent immune booster and antibiotic. Crush fresh cloves and mix them into feed, about 2 to 3% of total feed weight. It improves digestion, prevents intestinal swelling, and deters pathogens. Turmeric. Famous for its anti-inflammatory properties. Mix 1 teaspoon per kilogram of feed or dissolve in warm water and spread across the tank. It reduces stress, supports wound healing, and enhances appetite. Salt bath. When red legs or mild fungus appear, isolate the affected frogs in a saltwater bath, 3 parts per thousand, for 5 to 10 minutes. This simple treatment kills most external bacteria and helps the skin heal quickly. Probiotics plus herbs combo. Many farmers combine probiotics with herbal tonics once a week. This dual approach strengthens both the gut and the immune system, creating internal and external protection. These natural remedies don't just cure, they prevent, rebuild, and sustain. 4. Separation. The rule that saves entire farms. The fastest way to turn a small issue into a disaster is ignoring early warning signs. At the first sign of sick frogs, swollen bodies, loss of balance, pale or red skin, separate them immediately. Even if it's just 5 or 10, isolation prevents the spread to hundreds. Use a quarantine tank with mild aeration, clean water, and herbal solutions. Feed them lightly with garlic or turmeric-infused feed. Most will recover in a few days if caught early. This one habit, separation, is what turns chaos into control. It's the reason veteran farmers stay calm when others panic. 5. The water whisperer mindset. Healthy frogs don't start with medicine, they start with observation. A wise farmer learns to read the water like a book. Clear and clean with mild odor, balance is perfect. Cloudy or greenish, floc imbalance, add probiotics. Strong smell or foam, ammonia buildup, partial water replacement. Every color shift, bubble pattern, or odor tells a story. When you learn to listen, you'll always act before problems appear. Remember, frogs are sensitive to changes in pH and temperature. Stability is more important than perfection. Never shock them with sudden water changes, adjust gradually. Your job isn't to control nature, but to maintain harmony within it. 6. The farmer who prevents never panics. The best farmers don't wake up worrying about disease, because they never let it happen in the first place. Their secret is consistency. They check water daily, observe feeding behavior, and trust their biofloc. They use herbs, not antibiotics. They act early, not desperately. And when a new farmer asks, "What do you do when frogs start dying?" they smile and reply, "They don't." That's not arrogance, it's mastery. It's the quiet confidence that comes from understanding the living system you've built. Disease prevention isn't a task, it's a culture, a way of farming that values attention over reaction. Keep your water stable, keep your frogs calm, keep your mind patient. Because in the world of frog farming, the farmer who prevents never panics. Part 8. Harvest, Sales, and the Future of Frog Farming. After months of watching your tanks ripple with life, the day finally arrives, harvest day. The moment you realize that every splash, every croak, every ounce of patience has been worth it. Because now, the system you built from scratch begins to pay you back, not just in money, but in proof that smart farming works. Frog farming isn't a gamble, it's a formula. When you understand the rhythm of biology, the market becomes predictable. This final stage, harvesting, selling, and scaling, is where small farmers turn into business owners and backyard tanks evolve into thriving eco-enterprises. 1. Timing the harvest. When biology meets business. The best farmers know that profit isn't about size, it's about timing. Wait too long, and feed costs start eating into your profit. Harvest too early, and your frogs haven't reached their premium weight. The sweet spot comes at 5.5 to 6 months, when the average frog weighs 200 to 250 grams, 0.45 to 0.55 pounds. At this point, their meat is firm, their color is uniform, and their conversion rate is at peak efficiency. 24 hours before harvest, stop feeding. This allows frogs to empty their digestive tracts, keeping their meat clean and extending shelf life. It also prevents the tank water from fouling during the harvest process. Harvest in the early morning or evening when temperatures are cool. Use soft nets or shallow baskets to reduce stress. Bruised frogs fetch lower prices. Handle them gently. A calm frog is a valuable frog. Within a few hours, your tanks go from alive with motion to quietly still, and your storage crates fill with hundreds of shining, healthy frogs ready for market. 2. Sorting and grading. The secret to higher profit. Not all frogs are created equal, and the market pays accordingly. Smart grading turns uniform harvests into tiered income streams. Grade A, premium, 200 grams plus. For restaurants, hotels, and export buyers, these frogs bring top dollar because of their meat quality and size uniformity. Grade B, mid-size, 120 to 200 grams. For wholesalers and local markets, sold in bulk with fast turnover, consistent volume means consistent income. Grade C, under 120 grams. Kept for breeding, processed into dried or marinated frog meat, or sold to street vendors at discount prices. Even these generate additional income instead of waste. By grading carefully, you maximize value from every harvest and attract different types of buyers. A restaurant chain doesn't want the same frog a roadside stall does. It's not just farming, it's product management. 3. Profit breakdown. Turning small tanks into a cash flow machine. Let's put the numbers together. A standard 20 square meters tank, roughly 215 square feet, produces about 100 to 120 kilograms of marketable frog meat per 6-month cycle. At an average price of $3.50 minus 4.00 per kilogram. That's $350 minus $480 in gross revenue per tank per cycle. Now subtract operating costs, feed, electricity, probiotics, and maintenance, around $150 to $180 per cycle. That leaves a net profit of $200 minus $300 per tank every 6 months. Run 3 tanks, and that's $600 minus $900 every half year, or roughly $1,200 minus $1,800 annually, on a space smaller than a single car garage. And here's where it gets exciting. Because your Biofloc system is regenerative, your water, probiotics, and infrastructure costs drop with each cycle. By the 3rd cycle, many farmers report ROI above 250 to 300%. It's not about farming more, it's about farming smarter. 4. Sales channels. From pond to plate. Now that you've harvested, how do you sell? The answer depends on your scale. But every successful farmer builds diverse sales streams. 1. Local restaurants and hotels. Visit them with samples. Chefs love the texture of fresh frog meat for fried, grilled, or soup dishes. Offer consistency and reliability. They'll become loyal buyers. 2. Wholesale seafood suppliers. Perfect for volume sales. They handle logistics and ensure steady demand. 3. Farmers markets and community stores offer fresh, live, or processed frog meat directly to consumers. Position it as a sustainable protein alternative. 4. Online or social media sales. Create a Facebook or TikTok page showing your clean tanks. Feeding system and sustainability story. Consumers love transparency. 5. Processed products. Dried frog meat, frog jerky, or vacuum-sealed frog legs can fetch 2 to 3x the price of live frogs. When you diversify, you eliminate risk. If one market slows, another picks up, keeping your income steady year-round. 5. Seasonal strategy. Sell smart, not just hard. Frog demand fluctuates through the year, peaking during spring, early summer, and late autumn. Restaurants run promotions, and seafood markets pay premiums during these months. Plan your breeding and stocking cycles backward from those peaks. Example: stock in January, right pointing arrow, harvest in June, early summer boom. Stock again in July, right pointing arrow, harvest in December, holiday demand. 2 cycles a year equals consistent cash flow. By aligning biology with market timing, you multiply profits without adding cost. That's strategic farming, the hallmark of the new generation of bio-entrepreneurs. 6. Future vision. The rise of the biocircular farmer. What began as a niche practice in rural villages is now spreading across continents. From Vietnam to Texas, from Thailand to Florida, frog farming is proving that small tanks can build big wealth. This isn't just about frogs, it's about the future of food. Consumers around the world are demanding clean, eco-friendly protein sources. Governments are investing in sustainable aquaculture. Restaurants are adding green protein sections to their menus. And at the center of it all is the biocircular model, where waste becomes feed. Water becomes reusable, and every living organism supports the next. Tomorrow's farms won't look like endless fields or massive fish ponds. They'll look like networks of micro-ecosystems, small, efficient, self-powered, and profitable. Frog farming is a perfect entry point for anyone who wants to be part of that future. It's low cost, high yield, and endlessly scalable. A retired teacher, a young couple, or a city dweller with a few tanks can all become part of the next agricultural revolution. Because in the circular economy of tomorrow, small is powerful. 7. The new definition of wealth. At the end of this journey, you realize something deeper. Frog farming isn't just about money, it's about freedom. Freedom from dependence on unstable markets. Freedom from massive loans and unpredictable weather. Freedom to build something sustainable, ethical, and lasting. You're no longer just a farmer. You're a creator of ecosystems. You've built a business that respects life while generating income, a model that your children can inherit with pride. So when you stand by your tank, listening to the rhythmic splash of water and the quiet hum of your aerator, remember, this isn't just a pond. It's a symbol of transformation, proof that innovation doesn't always come from machines or skyscrapers. Sometimes, it comes from the steady leap of a small green frog. That leap, from mud to market, from waste to wealth, is the sound of a new agricultural revolution. Final part: the leap forward, the new era of biocircular farming. The story of frog farming isn't just about an animal, it's about a mindset, one that challenges the myth that only large-scale industrial agriculture can build wealth. It's the story of how ordinary people, with nothing more than curiosity, courage, and a few square meters of space, can turn biology into a business and sustainability into success. We live in an age where people are searching for purpose. They want work that matters, income that's stable, and a lifestyle that feels right, connected to nature, not at odds with it. And that's exactly what frog farming represents, a living symbol of the circular economy. Because when you build a system where every output becomes an input, where nothing is wasted and everything gives back, you're not just farming, you're creating harmony. You're aligning human intelligence with nature's genius. 1. The biocircular mindset. Wealth through balance. In the traditional farming model, profit comes from pushing more feed, more chemicals, more production. It's a race against limits. But in the biocircular model, profit comes from balance. The less you waste, the more you earn. The calmer your system, the stronger it becomes. This is why the most successful frog farmers don't brag about size. They brag about efficiency. They understand that one tank running perfectly, recycling every gram of waste, is worth more than 10 tanks constantly needing fixes. The biocircular philosophy is beautifully simple. Feed becomes growth. Waste becomes feed. Microbes become allies. Water becomes eternal. It's the art of farming without extraction, growing wealth with the ecosystem, not against it. In this way, frog farming isn't just a business, it's a statement, proof that sustainable profit isn't a dream, it's a system you can build. One tank at a time. 2. From local farmer to global visionary. The ripple effects of this model are already visible. Across Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and even the southern United States. Small farmers are proving that innovation doesn't require high-tech labs, it just requires observation, humility, and a willingness to learn from nature. One farmer in Dong Thap started with 2 frog tanks after losing his rice fields to flooding. Within a year, he expanded to 12 tanks and began teaching others how to start. A retired engineer in Florida turned his garage into a compact Biofloc system and now sells premium frog meat to local restaurants under the brand Eco Leap Foods. And in Texas, a young couple combined frog farming with aquaponics, using frog waste to fertilize lettuce and herbs, creating a closed-loop mini-farm that produces food year-round. These stories share a pattern: resilience, creativity, and freedom. The beauty of the biocircular model is that it empowers individuals to thrive independently, no corporation, no government subsidy, no fragile global supply chain, just knowledge, discipline, and the courage to start. 3. The global market is changing, and frogs fit perfectly. Around the world, consumer demand is shifting toward ethical, sustainable, and traceable protein. People want food that doesn't harm the planet. They want meat that's clean, high protein, and eco-friendly. Frog farming checks every box. High protein, low fat, minimal water use, zero chemical waste, fully recyclable feed and water cycle. And beyond that, it carries a story. The story of small farmers building smart systems that nourish both people and planet. Restaurants in Europe and America are rebranding frog legs as eco-protein. High-end chefs celebrate it for its delicate flavor and sustainability. What used to be a niche delicacy is now a symbol of regenerative agriculture. That means the door is wide open for new entrepreneurs, especially those who can combine farming skills with modern marketing and storytelling. 4. The next evolution. Frog farming 2.0. Imagine the next generation of biocircular farms. Small tanks monitored by IoT sensors that track pH, oxygen, and feed efficiency in real time. Solar panels powering aerators. Automatic feeders adjusted by AI. Recycled frog waste transformed into organic fertilizer for vegetables or insect feed. This is frog farming 2.0, smart, clean, data-driven, and accessible. In the near future, anyone, from rural villagers to urban gardeners, could manage an entire aquaculture ecosystem from their smartphone. It's the perfect marriage between ancient wisdom and modern innovation. And it all begins with understanding one simple truth: sustainability is the most profitable business model on Earth. 5. From survival to significance. For many, frog farming starts as a survival plan, a way to earn steady income. But for those who stick with it, it becomes something greater, a lifestyle of purpose. It teaches patience, because nature doesn't rush. It teaches observation, because life speaks in details. It teaches gratitude, because even waste has value when you learn to see it differently. And somewhere along the way, the frogs stop being livestock. They become partners. Their jumps become a rhythm of progress. Their growth a daily reminder that balance creates abundance. This is what separates the biocircular farmer from the conventional one, mindset. The biocircular farmer doesn't exploit, they collaborate. They don't chase profit. They cultivate it, like tending a living machine that rewards care with stability. That's not just sustainable agriculture. That's philosophical entrepreneurship. 6. The call to action, your first step. If you've read this far, it means you feel it, the pull of something new, something powerful. Maybe you have an empty space behind your house. Maybe you've got an unused shed, an old water tank, or a dream that's been waiting for the right moment. That moment is now. You don't need acres. You don't need loans. You don't even need luck. You need a plan, patience, and belief in the system. Start with one tank. Master the cycle. Watch the results. And when that first harvest comes, when you hold that first frog, clean, healthy, and ready for market, you'll understand what thousands of farmers around the world have already discovered. The future of farming isn't big, it's smart. The wealth of tomorrow won't come from land ownership, but from ecosystem ownership, the ability to build closed, Circular systems that create food, income, and stability in harmony with nature. And that revolution starts with you. 7. The leap that changed everything. One day, you'll look at your tanks and remember how it began. A few buckets of water, a handful of frogs, and a dream that seemed too small to matter. But it mattered, because it proved something the world had forgotten, that prosperity doesn't require destruction. And sustainability doesn't require sacrifice. A frog leaps not because it hates where it is, but because it sees where it can go. And in that leap, from waste to resource, from old thinking to circular innovation, lies the secret to building the farms, the fortunes, and the future of a new generation. So here's to the farmers who dare to think differently. Here's to the dreamers who see opportunity where others see mud. Here's to the leap forward, not just for frogs, but for all of us. Because when you align your work with the laws of nature, every drop of water, every breath of air, every humble frog becomes part of something far greater than profit. It becomes a movement, a revolution, a legacy. And it begins, as all great things do, with one small leap.